So welcome to this series I'm calling Reflections from Pharmacy Leaders Advancing the Profession. It's my pleasure to have with us here today Dr. Jeff Cain, who is an associate professor in pharmacy practice at the University of Kentucky. He also leads the Office of Teaching, Innovation, and Scholarship. His research is in the social and behavioral sciences area. A couple years ago, he was recognized by AACP with the Distinguished Teaching Scholar Award and is also one of the associate editors of Currents in Pharmacy Teaching and Learning. So welcome, Dr. Cain.
Thank you.
All right, we'll start off with, we would like to learn more about your journey to your current position, and I consider you an education leader. So maybe, tell us a little bit more about your journey very briefly, but especially key events or people who influence you in your journey.
Sure. Well, like most people, everyone's journey is a little different. Mine's probably way different than any other pharmacy faculty member in the country. I started off with a degree in finance, and I worked as an engineer for Oshkosh B'gosh Incorporated. Went back to graduate school. I started and ran a landscaping company to fund my way through graduate school. Eventually, I was got my master's degree in instructional design. I worked with the public school system in teaching technologies and working with high school teachers and learning how to use computers. And I think back in the career at this time, it was teaching them how to use a mouse and how to use Microsoft Word and Windows, which is, that's dating myself quite a bit. Eventually landed at the University of Kentucky in a role with the medical center, being an instructional technology consultant, of working with faculty from throughout all the health professions colleges on using technology and teaching. Then, one of the many university reorganizations and budget cuts things that happens every cycle or so, I actually got moved to the College of Pharmacy, which is really where I think this the story kind of begins. I was there in a staff position, working with faculty in using things like what would now be Blackboard or Canvas and audience response systems and just general teaching. Dr. Labowie, Bill Labowie, who is just, him, I'm sure, very well, is recently retired, or at least, 5 or 6 years ago, was pretty instrumental in launching me further into the career. He provided me, ample opportunities to learn and grow, got me involved in AACP, which then I started seeing the bigger picture of pharmacy education. And based on some other things, I ended up teaching an elective class with Tom Foster. One thing led to another. I was working on my doctoral degree at the time, finished it. I was doing some research, and some of my research was in pharmacy education. And Dr. Joe Fink allowed me to participate in his class. Then I finished my doctorate. The opportunity opened up to start teaching the pharmacy management course for the college, in the sense that I was the only person in the college with a business degree, person who was there before left kind of abruptly. So I kind of shared this with someone else. I was teaching, I was researching and writing. The next thing you know, I'm an adjunct faculty member. Multiple people have helped me get through this path. Dr. Jimmy Hatton, gave me my first adjunct faculty appointment. Dr. David Burgess, who's the current chair, came along and moved me to a tenure track position, which kind of still furthered reputation, furthered the opportunities that I've had. And so here I sit now as a tenured faculty member in a pharmacy practice department, from someone with a degree in education and business, which is typically not the standard. So it's a long, winding route.
Very good.
But lots of people to thank along the way that helped me, kind of get there.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I think you're relatively young. in your career, at least in your pharmacy career. And so what do you believe will be your legacy in this career, in pharmacy education? I'll say 20 years, maybe 30 years. So what I often paraphrase that is to say, what are you most proud of in terms of your contributions so far that has helped advance the profession of pharmacy and pharmacy education, obviously?
So I say there are a few things that I'm proud of, and we'll see. You know, time will tell what the legacy is and what the true impact is. Um, you know, I'll say one of the things that I'm proud of, I'm happy that I was able to accomplish, is some of the scholarship that I've done in education and hopefully helping advance education um, across numerous pharmacy colleges throughout the U.S. in terms of the innovative teaching pieces, teaching with technology, some of those areas that I've worked in the past. So I hope there's some lasting impact there. I do think, however, my impact and the legacy that would be left is really going to be the people that I've worked with and the students that I've taught. So I think there are people that I've worked with that I've helped along their career and helped them with writing and scholarship and research that are going to accomplish far more than me. And I definitely think there are some of my students who I've mentored over time who are going on to do some great things, and I think they're going to have a great impact. And I think some of the things that I've done to help them is, no one starts, in the beginning at point A and they go to, straight to Z to success. I hope and I feel that somewhere along the line, I'm helping someone get from C to D, maybe someone else get from G to H, and someone else get from P to Q along the way, that, if I weren't there, that maybe they didn't make that step. So, we'll see what that legacy is. I don't think in 20 years, people are going to look back and say, oh, Jeff Cain this and Jeff Cain that. I hope, that legacy is through the different people that I've worked with that, you never even know I existed.
Thank you very much. Very good. So advice for students in their journey as they develop as leaders, and often leaders, I'm not talking necessarily the big L, little L, influencing others, helping to advance the profession, helping to advance change.
Yeah, I think there's three big things I would say. The first one is, I would say, and I wish I would have done more of this when I was in school, is look at school more as an opportunity than as a series of boxes to check off. Not going into it to say, okay, I have to take this class and I have to take this class and I have to take this class. And then to get through this class, I have to take this test and write this paper and take this test. Don't look at it in that sense, but look at it as this is a period of time, very short period of time. It'll go by really quickly to take it all in, to learn from experts in the field, to be curious about things, approach those professors and preceptors and, ask them questions, get to know them. I think it's something that I miss now, that if I had a chance to do another 4 years or 2 years or 3 years in education, I think I would take way more advantage than what I did at the time. So that's the first one. The second one is I would say, don't try to do everything. I know there's a lot of pressure for many students to try to pad the CV to get lots of things on there so they can get the residency position that they want. And I know those are in high demand. But rather than trying to do everything and just being in this organization and that organization and working here and working there and volunteering for this and volunteering for that, is find out those areas to where you're really passionate about and that you really like and you really enjoy, and go deeper. And I see too many students that go really, really wide, but not very deep in anything, to not get anything super meaningful out of stuff. But, narrow that focus down to things and really go in and go at it, 100%. So if you try to do everything, you're not going to do hardly anything very well. And then the third piece of advice, and this is one I give in my classes, my last lecture, which I teach in the spring of PY3 year. And I would say that piece of advice is do difficult things. And, doing difficult things changes you. It gives you confidence to do more difficult things. It gives you perspective when you think things are rough or hard. But if you've done something really difficult, you can look back and say, well, you know what, this is not really as bad as that. And when I say do difficult things, it could be any, I mean, the difficulty can be in a variety of realms. It could be doing difficult things, could be, running a marathon. It could be building your own house. It could be writing a book. It could be taking in a foster child. Uh, Anything, I mean, there's all kinds of ways that things can be difficult. Someone told me once and this always sticks with me is, how do you know when you found the right difficult thing to do? Because there's all kinds of difficult things you can choose to do. And the advice that I heard, which I think is great, is when it both excites you and simultaneously scares you to death, then that's probably the thing you've hit that sweet spot. Um, so doing those difficult things, and I mean, so many things follow after that. That would be probably my number one piece of advice.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So as this is a history course, when we study the decade of the 2020s, one of the key events in that decade, I believe, will be the COVID-19 pandemic. Like other events in our history, key events that happen in the world shapes our profession. And we've seen that through the last 100+ years. So looking at the COVID-19, when we study the COVID-19 pandemic, how do you see we will read that in terms of it was people will describe it as, oh, that was a key event. That was a turning point for our profession. That was an opportunity. In other words, it was an opportunity for our profession.
Yeah, so I definitely see it as an opportunity for the pharmacy profession. And being an outsider, not being a pharmacist at all, never practicing pharmacy, and honestly not having any desire to practice pharmacy, I will leave that to you all who are going to be great at it. Um, if you look at the profession, I've always seen that pharmacy has always had to try to convince others of the value. And the value's always been there, but it's always trying to convince physicians or hospitals or others, like, we are valuable, we can do more, we have skills and we're being underutilized and we can do more. I think this is the time now that many people can begin to see more value than what's been seen in the past, because now they can view pharmacists as being, okay, like, we really, really need them in this pandemic to help us get through this. And I think coming out of that, that reputation should probably stay there, and it won't go back to looking as the pharmacist as this kind of healthcare profession that's over on the side that just takes care of, filling the prescriptions for us. So we'll see how it ends up, but I do think it will be a net positive for pharmacy.
Very good. Thank you. Well, thank you, Dr. Cain. I really appreciate your taking the time to be with us.
Well, thank you for having me.